If you've watched a lot of content about how to deal with a narcissist, I'm sure that you've heard over and over again that the only way to deal with them is to go no contact. And for a lot of you out there, you're probably wondering, what am I supposed to do if I can't go no contact with the narcissist? And that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. Now, the topic of today's video is quite complicated, or it can become quite complicated. So what I'm going to go over in this video is 3 different degrees to which not being able to go no contact might apply to you. First, I'm going to talk about people that are in what I'm going to call an arm's length relationship with you, that it's not really impacting your day-to-day life, but this person is a narcissist and maybe going no contact just really isn't worth it. Then I'm going to go over relationships where you really have no choice, primarily co-parenting relationships where you're legally required to cooperate with this person. And then at the end of my video, which I think is probably going to take up the most time, I'm going to talk about situations in which you live with the narcissist and you actually have a very limited sovereignty over your own life. The narcissist is controlling much of your life and you truly feel like you can't just leave this person. You really are stuck and you can't go no contact. So first, arm's length relationships. These would be relationships like in-laws, maybe extended family members, friends of friends, coworkers, people that are part of your life, but they really don't have heavy influence on it. And it's probably like they haven't done anything that would really warrant going no contact. Maybe they are kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, but going no contact just wouldn't be worth the drama and the hassle that it would cost. I did a reel the other day about when you have to keep a narcissist in your life, or when you're unwilling to go no contact for a reason like this. Maybe it's just not worth it. How do you deal with that? And in the reel that I did, I likened this unto ordering a beanbag chair, and then when you get it and open the box, it's actually a cactus inside. A lot of people might wonder, why don't you just send the cactus back? That's not what you ordered, right? But there's all kinds of situations where we have to keep this cactus. Or maybe you call customer service and customer service tells you like, no, that's a beanbag chair. And you look at it and it's a cactus, right? In this reel, I went over several options you have with what you can do with this cactus. You can try to use it as a beanbag chair and severely injure yourself. You can try to convince it to turn into a beanbag chair because that's what it's supposed to be. Or you can accept that this thing is a cactus or this person is a narcissist and they are not going to turn into a nice, trustworthy person that you can rely on. They are what they are. So in a situation where this person doesn't have a really heavy influence on your life, I think the best advice I have is to keep it that way. Keep this arm's length relationship at arm's length. Keep this cactus up on a shelf or in a back room. Don't put it right in the middle of your kitchen, no matter what anybody tells you or no matter how much pressure you might feel to do so. There might be certain types of arm's length relationships where maybe you feel some sort of obligation to let this person get a little closer to you. Maybe you don't want to be seen as somebody who's being judgy of them. I know I have had experiences in my life in which relationships that could have stayed arm's length didn't. I let this person too close to me and then I got hurt. Now, I could probably make a whole other video, probably a whole series of videos on how you know whether or not to let somebody close to you, but that's something I think sometimes you have to learn through experience. You have to learn to trust your intuition. You have to learn to be able to read your intuition, and sometimes you have to learn these things the hard way. There's really no cut and dry black or white way to know whether or not somebody is trustworthy to be let into your heart or to trust with your secrets or to confide things in. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way. But I think once we develop an ability to read and trust our own intuition, we can learn, whether we've learned it the hard way or not, we can learn who to look out for and who we can trust. And I also think something I've learned the hard way is when you're not sure, to give time to make someone earn your trust, to make someone earn the right to be somebody that you feel comfortable confiding in and relying on. Make somebody earn that for real, not just pressure you into feeling like you should trust them, because what did they ever do to you? Listen to your gut and recognize the value in your trust. Recognize that your gift of trusting someone, letting them into your heart, is not something that you give away for free. Also, pay attention to what other people say. Now, a lot of people will say things about people that maybe are unfair or gossipy or whatever, but a lot of the things that other people say about other people have a lot of merit to it. So don't just dismiss what others say. And I mean, there have been people that I've known in my life that turned out to be very toxic, very narcissistic, where in the beginning I thought they were great. And then I look back and I realize at that time, there were a few people here and there that would say critical things about this person, and I just didn't understand it. And I thought, like, what? Why don't they like this person? This person's great. When you hear voices criticizing someone that you really don't know that well, you know, you don't necessarily have to take it all at face value, but don't dismiss it either. Take it into consideration and ask yourself, why is this person being criticized in this way? Is there anything to it? And again, if this person is a cactus, don't try to cuddle up to it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about co-parenting specifically, or any other type of situation where this person doesn't live with you. You still have sovereignty, but you're also being forced in a way to cooperate with them. You can't go no contact. I can't really think of any situations other than co-parenting where this applies. But if you can think of any, maybe describe them in the comments, or just keep in mind that that's what I'm talking about here. Now, for co-parenting specifically, I think the most important thing, and this is easier said than done. This can take a lot of practice, but I think the most important thing is to learn to let go of things that you cannot control. Co-parenting with narcissists can be one of the most frustrating, maddening things that you'll ever have to do if you're unfortunate enough to be in that situation. I mean, they will provoke you any way they can. They will make your lives miserable. They will turn everything into a power play. They will turn everything into an attempt to try to make you look like the bad guy, to try to make you look like the one who's not cooperating. You're the one who's causing trouble. It can be just beyond frustrating, and there's really no way out of this. You have to cooperate with this person, right? I think that what I see a lot is people worried, especially about what the narcissist is doing with the children when the children are in the narcissist's custody, you know, during visitation or whatever, or if the narcissist has more custody than the non-narcissistic parent in that kind of situation. But the non-narcissistic parent worried about what the narcissist is doing when the children is with them. And I think you really have to accept that you can't control what the narcissist does when the narcissist is the one that's taking care of the kids. If they're doing something illegal or something that you can do something about, then do something about that. But I think for a vast majority of the situations, there really is nothing you can do. You can't force the narcissist to be a good parent. You can't force the narcissist to be emotionally supportive or mature or any of these things. You divorced this person for a reason, or the relationship fell apart for a reason. And just like the narcissist can't control what you do when you have the kids, you can't control what they do. And so I think you really need to pick the hills you're going to die on. You know, are you going to get upset because the narcissist didn't take the kids to their soccer practice on time or their piano lesson on time, or the narcissist gave them a bunch of junk food or didn't make them go to bed on time? Are you going to let yourself get worked up over these things that you don't have any control over? Or are you going to spend your energy focusing on what you can provide for the children when they're with you? You can be the best parent you can be. You can take them to soccer practice on time. You can feed them a healthy diet and make sure they go to bed on time. You can do all these things that you feel are important, and that's all you can do. You can't force this other person to cooperate with your agenda. And I think the more you try, the more power you give to them, the more it really encourages them to continue being difficult because of how upsetting it is for you. I also want to share a tip that I believe the Little Shaman came up with this. I heard this years ago, so I'm sure I'm going to change it a little unintentionally, but I thought it was a really great idea, and I also don't want to take credit for it. So I'm pretty sure that this was the Little Shaman that suggested for communication with a narcissistic co-parent, create a unique email address that is only meant for communicating with this parent, and set boundaries around when you're going to check this email account. Like, I'm only going to check this email account on Tuesdays at 3 and Fridays at 5 or something like that. And communicate that to the narcissist. And of course, don't expect them to like it or agree to it. You tell them that that's what you're going to do. And then you stop the conversation and you stick to this schedule of communication. And if they don't use your email address, then that's on them, right? I think everybody's situation's different, but I thought this was a really great suggestion in order to maintain control of the communication and not let it spiral out of control with crazy text message strings and, all the different ways that things can really spiral when you're trying to communicate with a narcissist. Limit the channels of communication to the channels that you are comfortable using, and don't have unnecessarily long conversations. Don't text things you don't need to text. Don't argue with things you don't need to argue about. Keep communication as short and boring as you possibly can. Don't let them control or provoke your emotions. I know that's easy to say. And focus on the kids. Don't focus on what the narcissist should be doing to take care of the kids. Focus on what you can do to take care of the kids the best way that you can, because that's really all you have control of in this kind of situation. Okay, now we're going to talk about what I think is really the meat of this video, and that's situations where the narcissist has taken over all of or most of your sovereignty, meaning you feel like you truly have no way out. You're stuck. You cannot get away from this person. You're dependent on them in some way, and they have control over your living space, your workspace, your money, your finances. And that's what I mean by sovereignty. You don't have your own space that is unique to you, that you have control over. They've kind of infiltrated all of the important parts of your life that could possibly give you control, give you your independence back. Now, a lot of people might wonder, people that haven't been through this, they might wonder, how do you get stuck with a narcissist? Why don't you just leave? A lot of us have probably heard this a million times, right? Just leave. Why do you stay with this person that treats you this way, right? There are a lot of reasons that somebody can be stuck or feel like they're stuck. And I mean, I think the biggest one, in my opinion, is financial. If somebody is controlling your means to feed yourself and keep a roof over your head, they have a lot of control. You can't just walk away from that. You're not going to have a place to sleep, or you're not going to have food to eat. And how does this happen? Maybe you're financially struggling and a narcissist comes along and sees this, and they win their way, or they worm their way into your life by promising to take care of you, to solve really severe financial problems that you might be having. And you trust them because they are presenting a solution for a terrible problem you're dealing with. And the next thing you know, you're completely dependent on them for your basic needs. And you can't just walk away from that. When you walk away from a narcissist that's providing this kind of support for you, you can often end up in a much worse situation than the one you walked in with. And you walked in vulnerable and needy. And now you're probably more dependent, more tied up, because narcissists will do that. They will chip away at your sovereignty and your independence and your autonomy to where you're going to be worse off if you leave them than you were when you met them. I think a lot of stay-at-home moms might be particularly vulnerable. I mean, you're taking care of kids. Who's going to take care of the kids if you leave? How are you going to support them if you're financially dependent on your husband or your partner and you don't have a job? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to live? How are you going to pay rent? Especially if this person controls the finances in a way that you don't even have the opportunity to save money. You can't just pull money out and go put a deposit on an apartment. You can be really stuck in a situation like this. Also, for people that have health problems or disabilities, maybe they are physically dependent on the narcissist just to be able to take care of themselves physically. Who's going to take care of you in the ways that you need if you're disabled? If you're dependent on this person for basic daily physical needs, how are you supposed to just walk away from that? And narcissists also create situations where, as I said, they chip away at your autonomy over time. And one way they do that is they will destroy the relationships that you have with people that could have been a resource for you, people that could have helped you escape from this person. And they can do this in all kinds of ways. I mean, they might tell this person lies about you. They might create situations where you start to doubt the relationship you have with somebody that you actually can trust. You know, the narcissist might lie to you about what somebody else said about you. There's all kinds of ways that a narcissist will destroy the relationships that you have with people that could have been a resource. And that just leaves you more trapped. Who are you going to reach out to? All your relationships have been ruined. The narcissist is the only person left in your life that you can, quote, trust or lean on. Another way that you can get stuck is emotionally. You might be afraid. And I think this is not easy to understand if you haven't been there before. Some people might wonder, how can you be afraid to leave somebody who's actually dangerous? If this person could harm you, could physically hurt you, how could you be afraid to leave them? And I don't know that I have a rational explanation for this other than just saying that narcissists and other abusive people just have ways of instilling indescribable fear in their victims. It might make sense, it might not, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day if you're absolutely terrified beyond words to leave this person. If walking away, it seems like the most impossibly terrifying thing you could ever do. It doesn't really matter why you believe that or why you feel that way. It creates a huge, huge barrier between you and sovereignty, and it can seem just impossible. Like somebody's telling you that the only way to freedom is to jump off the edge of a cliff. And then they wonder why you don't. Why don't you just jump off the edge of that cliff? Well, okay, why don't you jump off the edge of this cliff and just expect that there's going to be some soft place for you to land, to just have faith in that. It's not easy and it's not simple for people. Sometimes it just seems impossibly terrifying or logistically impossible to just leave somebody who's abusing you. If this resonates with you, I want to tell you that I have been in this situation several times in my life where I was heavily involved with somebody I was dependent on in some way who was making my life absolutely a miserable train wreck. And I faced indescribable terror at the thought of walking away from this person. And I also faced the questions of, how am I going to put a roof over my head? How am I going to feed myself? Am I going to have any friends left? Is everyone going to hate me? What's going to happen to these people, those people? What's going to happen to me? Where am I going to go? And somehow I found a way out of all these situations. There was one in particular, and I really don't want to go into a lot of detail, but it took about 1.5 years of intentionally thinking about how I was going to get away to actually break free. And even then, I had some strokes of luck that helped me get away from that situation. But I guess I just want to say that I understand that fear, and I understand the feeling of being trapped. And I've also been able to escape from that more than once. I've been through this. Sometimes after you leave, things are worse, are really difficult. It is an uphill climb. It is a long battle to get back to a safe, secure place. And sometimes when you leave, things are 1,000 times better than you could ever imagine, and you wonder why you didn't do it years earlier. But nobody has a crystal ball, and this is definitely part of what can keep you stuck. You don't know what will happen when you finally cross that line, that point of no return, where you've actually done it. You've pulled the so-called trigger and you've walked away. Sometimes it doesn't work out. You know, I'm not going to lie. It's a risk and it's scary. But I want to communicate a few things about this. First of all, for me, I really had a core belief that I deserved a certain level of respect and that I simply could not live in the situations that I had found myself in. And I think that that's something that some people need to develop. I don't know why some people just feel deeply that they deserve better and some people don't. But I think that that is something that could be an obstacle. It's just simply not understanding that you do deserve sovereignty. You deserve safety. You should feel like you deserve these things, and you should be willing to do whatever you can to reclaim your life, because that's what you deserve. I think you should ask yourself, if you feel like there's no hope for yourself, I think you should really ask yourself, at what point do you give up hope for yourself? At what point do you stop looking for solutions or trying to find a way out? Could you revisit that place or that point where you gave up hope and maybe open some doors to some different solutions that you maybe didn't think about? Did you give up too soon? Can you revisit that and try to think of new ways that you could find your way out? Isn't it worth it? Aren't you worth trying everything you can to reclaim your sovereignty? Now, if you're clear that you do deserve better, here's some thoughts that I want to share that I think are really important. Things that I know were stumbling blocks for me and that I've seen other people really struggle with. And that is to accept that this person is who they are. Like the cactus analogy I gave in the beginning of the video. Whatever this person does to you in the worst of times, that's never going to get better. It's going to get better in moments, but overall, somebody who's willing to do the things that this person does to you at times is never going to change that. Don't let yourself fall into the trap of vacillating, of seeing this person do horrible things to you, be disrespectful, possibly violent, scare you, make you feel unsafe in your own home, basically using abusive behavior towards you. But then the next day, they're nice again and they tell you they're sorry and everything seems better. This is such a powerful manipulation tactic because we don't want to deal with the stress and the terror of uprooting our whole lives and changing everything and possibly losing our whole support system. You know, everyone that we've got left who is now just friends with the narcissist. We don't want to go through all that. Plus, a lot of us are still emotionally attached to the narcissist. We don't want to go through the heartbreak of losing somebody that we still feel very emotionally attached to. So when things start to look better, when the narcissist is being nice, we easily fall into the trap of believing that everything's going to be fine. Now, all of our problems are solved, all of our hard times are behind us, and this is going to be fine. We don't have to face this terrifying situation that we're in. We don't really have to do anything about it. Everything's going to be fine now. Abusive relationships do not fix themselves, ever. That just doesn't happen. If you're in an abusive relationship, you are in an abusive relationship. Period. That's not going to just stop being abusive one day. It's going to vacillate. There's going to be good times and bad times, and then good times and bad times, and good times and bad times. That's how an abusive relationship works. And unfortunately, I think most abuse victims fall into the trap of believing that everything's better now and everything's going to be okay. And then when things happen, when the abuse comes back, when episodes of abusive behavior return, then they go back into the zone of thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to get away from this person. I've got to get out of this relationship. What am I going to do? This is too scary. There's too many unknowns. How am I going to support myself? Is anyone ever going to love me again? Is anyone going to believe me? But then the narcissist starts acting nice again, and there's this relief, and there's this hope of, not hope for escape, not hope for regaining your sovereignty, but hope that maybe you don't need to face any of that. Maybe this relationship's going to be fine, and this abuse is going to go away. And you can get stuck in this cycle for the rest of your life. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I have that can help you keep the motivation you need, to keep the hope alive that you need, to motivate you to find a way out and to overcome the fear, is to not let yourself believe that this relationship is actually fixing itself somehow when you're going through the eyes of the storm. Stay committed to the reality that this is an abusive relationship and that you deserve better, and it did not magically heal itself on its own. There's another analogy I used in a reel a long time ago, and that is of a burning house. I think a lot of people that are in abusive relationships they downplay how much danger they might be in, and they downplay how bad it really is. It's not until you get out of an abusive relationship and you get into a safe space and you start to heal that you look back and truly understand how bad things really were, or how much danger you actually were in. Now, that's going to vary a lot, but I think most abuse victims underestimate how dangerous the abuser is. Abusive people don't think like normal people. They don't have empathy for their victims. And when they start to lose control, they are capable of much, much more than the victim is probably aware that they are capable of. So it's like your house is on fire. And instead of understanding that your house is on fire and you need to find a way out, you are stuck in this belief that you need to put the fire out. That's what you need to do. If you can just figure out a way to put the fire out, then the problem will be solved and you can stay in this house that's like totally engulfed in flames. Now, if your house is on fire and I'm telling you, you need to find a way out of this house, you can give me all the reasons in the world that you have nowhere else to go, and you're stuck in a certain room or whatever. And those reasons might be valid. Maybe you are stuck in a closet on the second floor, or maybe you're actually right next to the front door and you just don't realize it. But no matter where you are in this house that's on fire, you really can't concentrate your efforts on trying to put the fire out. You need to concentrate your efforts on finding a way out. And maybe you really are stuck in a closet on the second floor. But I think when you realize the urgency of the situation, when you realize that your house is on fire, no matter where you are, you're going to have a better chance of finding your way out when you realize how important it is for you to do that. Don't go back and forth in this house debating over whether or not it really is on fire. Maybe the flames are going to die down a little bit. Maybe I could go into this room that's not engulfed in flames at the moment. Maybe if I stay in this room, things will be okay. Wait, this room over here looks fine. Maybe the fire will go out if I just spend some time over here in this room. I want to encourage anybody that's in this type of situation to never give up hope that you can regain your sovereignty somehow. Some people are in really, really difficult, maybe impossible situations, but I believe that the vast majority of these situations do have some solution. Maybe it will take time. Maybe it will take planning. Maybe it will take a lot of creativity. But I really think that narcissists manipulate you into believing that you're a lot more stuck than you really are, because they want you to believe that you have no other options. They don't want you to believe in yourself or to believe that you're going to be better off without them. And they're really good at brainwashing and manipulating you. So a lot of these beliefs you have about how stuck you are might be ideas that they planted in your head. And so I want to encourage you not to give up on yourself and to question all of these ideas about why you're stuck and how stuck you are, and to never give up on regaining your sovereignty. This is a decision that only you can make because this is your life. And only you can ask yourself what price you're willing to pay or what risks you're willing to take in order to reclaim your life for yourself and live it on your own terms. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.